Hello, this video illustrates the installation of epanet2toolbox-for-MacOS, which allows one to use R as an interface for the epanet program. The R script described in this document, which is pending publication by Ernesto Arandia and Bradley Eck. They collectively have written this R package over a few years, and this is a relatively recent upgrade to the package. This particular article provides a lot of a background description as well as a description of the model structure. The meat of it that matters for an average R user who may not be terribly familiar with shared object modules is right here. So this is installing the package and running a network simulation. What I'm providing in the video is a little bit of extra explanation to these 3 or 4 lines that are described in the paper. As a warning to other users, your version of R needs to be greater than 3.4.4, at least in the Macintosh operating system, for it to run. It seems to be a little bit more backward compatible with a Windows implementation of R, and I have not tested the Linux install. With the Linux one, I believe the user is going to have to build the packages from source. Certainly, it's going to have to build the epanet shared object module from source. So here's a set of commands that I'm going to invoke, and I've left them in a file called how to install epanet2toolkit.r. That's mostly for me, so I don't have to type these particularly one at a time. And I'm illustrating this in an integrated development environment called RStudio. So the first thing a user would do is to get an implementation R running, and I'm going to restart my R session. Okay, so that's a brand new R console, and I've already made sure that I have a recent enough edition of R. In fact, I actually literally reinstalled it before making the video because I could not get the install packages to work correctly otherwise. So the first thing we're going to do is we want to install the epanet2toolkit package. And assuming we're typing in the console, we type the following, and it should take some time. It's thinking, and it goes out to the comprehensive R archive network, finds the appropriate zip, automatically unzips it, and the binary packages are now installed in this temporary directory that's managed by the R program. Next thing I'm going to go ahead is get something called epanet reader. That's a related tool, also by the same 2 authors, that provides some capabilities to read input and output files directly. So again, it should go out to the comprehensive R archive network, find the appropriate file. It's smart enough to know if you're running the Mac OS or Windows and can get the built binaries. Again, in Linux, the documentation states that the user has to build from source. Next, we need to attach the 2 libraries to this particular implementation of R, and that's what this command library does. And epanet reader. So in theory, they are attached, and I'm going to cheat, and I have a package device here, and with these things click like that, it tells me that those particular packages are now installed. Okay, the next part of the video is we're going to go ahead and attempt to run the program. Now, one thing I discovered is that this particular example is insufficient unless we can put things into the correct path. But for grins, we will go ahead and try to invoke it as written. I'll just store the copy of it. And that's what I expected. Okay, so what it doesn't have is it cannot actually find the input file in order to generate the report file. Now the solution I found to that is distributed with the software were some in this zip file. There's the actual source, and it has some documentation, and in that it describes how to get a path. And so I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to use my Windows one, which does the following. This command right there will get the path. Again, this is copied directly from the documentation. I'm going to skip that because I don't really need it to print my path. This next one will actually run it. So it's the same syntax as before, but now the paths are correct. I'm pretty sure by default, whatever this file path is, that's where it's going to throw the report. We'll check that in a second. We'll use the epanet reader, which is not absolutely necessary. So there's this report, my report, epanet reader. You pipe the report in, and it extracts components of it according to how it's programmed and used. And finally, we'll summarize it. And what we're looking for is we want some kind of output, even if it's riddled with warning messages. All right. So now we'll go ahead and run these. I'm going to run them one line at a time. So it should exist now. No error message this time. We use the report reader, and this is an expected warning message. And we've now successfully run it. Oh, it looks like I have some old garbage laying around in this workspace. Nevertheless, we have successfully run epanet. There's the report, and what I don't actually know is the path to it, but we can study that in a second. So there it is, providing the full results, and then what we had in the R script was a summary of that. So that is a way of running epanet using R. The version of epanet that is used is version 2.1 as distributed by Open Water Analytics, which is different than but closely related to the official epanet program distributed by the US EPA. Not identical, but close enough. That concludes, that does not conclude this video. Let's go find where that report is located. On mine, it should be in, what's its name? net1.report. Gonna have to cheat here. Okay, on my computer, okay, so there's the input. and yep, we're in the right path. Libraries is where the shared object modules are stored. The X data there is there. So the most likely place for the output file is whatever the current working directory is. Users Theodore. Okay, so in my computer the output should be in users Theodore. Let's verify that. And there should be a text file. Sure enough, it is. Okay, so that's a successful installation of EPAnet2toolbox. I have another video which shows me doing the same thing in Windows 10, so I can verify that at least the Windows 10 and Macintosh versions of these packages are both functional as of August 10, 2018. That concludes this video. Thank you for your time.